Today we're going to be doing some artist trading cards, and also known as ACEO cards, and I'm going to be doing an abstract. And what I've done is taken a piece of watercolor paper and taken my ruler and marked them off at 2.5 by 3.5, and you get 8 to a page. And then I took my elegant writer and just did some scribbling amongst all of the 8 cards that we're going to make our abstract out of. So if you've never used an elegant writer, it's a permanent, actually calligraphy pen, but when you wet the ink, it is very blendable with blues and greens, and if you dab off the water, it actually will turn to a pink and red, and it's absolutely beautiful. So what I've done is I've outlined my watercolor paper, holding the pen from the very end, just making some shapes. I'm going to be using my Kuretake watercolors today, and just all the colors actually. I just don't want to make mud. So then I'm going to take a oval wash brush, and I'm going to get it wet, and I'm going to use some tissue, not paper towel. You really need that thin tissue, and you're going to need several pieces to dab up the water, to let this run but not get out of control. It can be beautiful, but it can become a mess very quickly. So get you some clean water, a brush, some tissue, and the first thing I'm going to do is wet my brush, get off the excess water, dab it on the paper towel, and then run it along the edge of this pen. And you'll just see, now the paper's dry, you'll just see how the ink just is gorgeous coming out. This is beautiful for sketches. It's good for a lot of different things, but I love this for my artist trading cards. Now, as long as all of the ink has been wet and dried permanently, it will not re-wet. But if you miss a spot, then it will re-wet if water hits it. So what I'm doing very carefully is going around the edges and blending and getting some highlights. And I'm going to come back with the watercolor. But at the end, I've got to make sure that all the lines have been wet. And so I actually, from a far distance, actually above my camera, spray a fine mist to make sure all of the lines have been wet with water. At the end, I'm actually going to put some salt in here, so I need the water anyway. But as you can tell, this is just gorgeous. There's greens, there's blues, and if you dab it up, you're going to get some reds. I don't want to outline every line. I want to just give me some highlights and lowlights for my watercolor to come in. Now, I'm going to paint a lot of this over with watercolor. So just enjoy the process. There's no right or wrong. And then when you finish, you've got 8 abstract trading cards, artist trading cards. Like I said, you can. So real quickly, I'm going to explain, and I don't want to debate over it, but the rule of thumb from the history of artist trading cards: if you make a 2.5 by 3.5 artist trading cards, you cannot sell them. You should give them away to collectors or to customers or to friends or family, but do not sell them. If you call them ACEO cards, same size, same principle, you can sell them. Now, I do both. So why do I do both? Well, I actually have a mat, a 5x7 mat that fits these perfectly, and I do sell them on my website as ACEO cards. when someone purchases an item painting from me, I give them a free artist trading card with their order. There is a difference. There are rules to this principle, and you're welcome to look it up. Artist trading card versus ACEO cards. They're one and the same, but they're different. And again, I don't want to debate it. I'm just throwing that out there. There's a whole community out there of ATC cards, and it's a big no-no if you sell them. But if you sell them as ACEO cards, perfectly fine. So that's all I'm going to say. It's up to you how you do it, but that's how I handle my business and how I handle my cards. So I've used watercolor paper. I'm just getting everything damp, getting the ink to flow from the Elegant Writer pen and dabbing it up. And I'm going to probably speed up most of this because really all I'm doing is wetting the edges, and then I'll slow it down when I start the watercolor and then speed it back up with the watercolor because it's the same process all the way through. It doesn't matter if you get out of the lines. It's going to be blurred edges. At the end, I'm going to put salt on it anyway. That's going to make the ink adhere to the salt and give us blooms. So it's not going to be a smooth transition anyway. So there's no right or wrong. Just do what feels good and enjoy the process. So here I've got most of my colors in, and what I've done is sprayed, made sure I've got all of the Elegant Writer pen marks wet, sprayed a little water amongst the paint, and now I'm putting in some sea salt to give me some blooms. And I'm going to let this dry. I let it dry for a couple of hours. The paper wasn't really wet, so it didn't take long. So here it's dry, and what I want to do is use a micro glaze to seal this. It is watercolor and it is ink. This is by Tim Holtz. There's also a cold wax that you can use, but today I'm going to use the micro glaze. A little bit goes a long way. I am wearing a glove. It says you don't have to, but I do. You put a little bit on your finger and you rub it in circular motions around the piece. Now you can feel a resistance, and you can take some that's too thick from another area and put it in a different area. Less is better than too much. I get a little bit at a time, and I'm kind of just going over each card at a time. I don't want to do the whole piece at once. I have a bright light here so I can look from the edge and make sure that it's all being covered. You only put one coat on, and then you take a paper towel and you buff it. Now you can wait 15 or 20 minutes, or you can do it right after you finished. I may have waited 5 minutes, but you don't have to wait like you do with like a Gamblin cold wax. I use that as well, or Dorland's cold wax. But I just cannot stress enough, it needs to be very, very, very thin. So I'm going to put this over the portions that I've painted. It's going to seal it and make it water resistant. You can see the gloss on it. And I don't think I said, because I fast forwarded through this portion, all I did was let the salt dry that I put on, and then I brushed it off. You don't have to do anything special. It just made some beautiful cauliflowers on it. So you can see how the wax just gives it a beautiful shine. And every once in a while I'll show you how much I'm using, because I've used this jar before, so this wasn't full when I started. So very, very little. Again, I just can't stress that enough. Every once in a while I find a piece of salt that I didn't brush off and just pick it up. Very lightly. You don't have to brush it into the paper, into the watercolor. Just put it on top. You can feel the resistance when you're putting it on. It's very easy to put on. But I wouldn't recommend taking a big blob and putting it on there and spreading it out. I would recommend using your hand, either with a glove or without, or a microfiber cloth works well too. I have used that in the past. So I have it all waxed. I did cut out a little bit of this because it was time consuming. Put one coat on. It's dried about 5 minutes. If you tilt it up, you can see the shine, and and it's ready to be buffed. So here I've got a paper towel and it's dry, and I'm just going to buff in circular motions around the painting, and I'll show you the paper towel as I go along. You can actually see no paint comes off, no ink comes off, but the excess wax comes off. So you don't have to do it hard. It kind of looks like I am, but I think it's just the paper moving. Just very gently rubbing in circular motions on top of the wax and the ink. I'm still finding a little bit of salt here and there is what I'm wiping off. You can actually tell with my light, it's got a very semi-gloss sheen to it, which is very beautiful. It's not sticky. And you don't have to wait for it to dry. With gambling, you do need to wait 4 to 6 hours. So I'm just buffing off the excess wax and getting a smooth transition. So you can see a little bit, but there's not a lot, which means I did a good job on putting it on. If you put too much, it's going to take days for this to dry. And that's not what we're after. We're after a quick process so that we can move on to the next. So you can kind of see the sheen with the light, hopefully. You can flatten this. I'm not, because I'm going to cut them up into cards. So, but if it was something else that had a little wave on the paper from it being wet and such, you could lay it between some books and wet the back of it and flatten it out. But for this purpose, I don't need to. So now I'm going to cut the cards, and I just use a paper cutter to trim the big parts, and then I use a Work Pro box cutter and a ruler with my cutting mat to get them down to the correct size. So I had pencil marks where they were 2.5 by 3.5. I used my large paper cutter, cut the edges off, cut them down to size. And now I'm using this to trim off the little bit of excess to make them exactly square, follow my guideline, and ready. So they're abstract with us having the different sizes. Some of the shapes are on one and the other, so they're cut off, which I love. It's not like just a circle or a rectangle or a shape within that one card. They're cut off and they go to the next card. This is a metal ruler, which for me is real easy. I do have a plastic see-through ruler that I like when I'm measuring this, because I can see through to where my 2.5 and 3.5 inch dot goes. But to cut this with a box cutter so your fingers are safe, I use this and I recommend it. I did not let these dry. I buffed them, they were dry. You can handle them, they're not going to smear. They're ready to be given to someone. So we ended up with 8 out of a piece of watercolor pad paper. We ended up with 8 with a little bit of extra left over but not much. With these Kuretake watercolors, they're very pale, they're not dominant, just right in your face. They're very soft looking. With the salt, you got the softness, and with the microglaze, you get the softness. So I really like them. So what I will do with these is I've got some sheets that I print off and glue to the back of them, which just says what card number they are and that they were made by me either as an ACEO or a art card. Like I said, I either give them to people that purchase items from me as a free gift, or I sell them on my website as well. Here at the end, I will show you the mats that I have that will fit these, which makes them a 5x7, which makes it a great gift. They can choose which way to turn it when they buy the frame. So I'm going to show you here in a minute, once we get all of these cut out, I like to look at them and say, okay, which way do they go? Which way looks best to me? Well, it's not up to me, it's up to the customer. So you could either do them landscape or you could do them portrait. You could turn them upside down, turn them right side up. It's whatever is appealing to you. And every time you look at it, they look different. So we have 8. And there's one I'll try to show you. Actually, I was looking at the video that I made. And it actually ended up looking like a woman to me in a dress, which is so weird. It's like you start seeing things from objects and shapes that you make. I think the colors turned out great together. Like that one there, I didn't notice it until just now. It looked like a woman with a hat on. I mean, you don't know. I just love it. So it's whatever feels good to you, but it's not really your choice. If you're going to give them away, then they can decide. Or if you're going to sell them, they can decide. Or keep them for yourself. So I'm just kind of showing you the different angles, the different shapes you can have. I love this ink. It is very water sensitive, but it puts out a beautiful hue to go with these watercolors. You could use acrylic, I guess. I don't know with the Elegant Writer, but definitely, I mean, you could. I'm still turning them around looking at all different angles because I didn't plan anything. I just put shapes and painted them, cut them out to see what I had. You can see on the right, that's all the paper I had left that is not going to be used. And I don't think that's bad for 8 cards. So there's the 8. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please give me a thumbs up and a like and subscribe. I don't do affiliate links. If you have any questions on the materials I've used, just shoot me a comment and I'll tell you what it is. But I just really don't do affiliate links any longer. I do have some videos out there. But it's a pain. I don't like it, you don't like it, but I'll answer any questions you have. This is all the waste that I had, which I think is very minimal. How can you support me? By subscribing. You can buy me a coffee. I have a PayPal link in the description, which would help pay for supplies for my videos. You can give me a review, and you can share my videos. You can check out my website. Any of my paintings that I do are available on my website for sale. So it's funny, now I don't find the woman that looked like she was in a dress. But I did earlier. That's so weird. But they're very semi-glossy. They're not shiny, shiny. They're sealed, they're protected, and the customer can do what they wish to do with them, be it if you sell them or give them away. And see, they're flat. They're not crinkled or warped from the watercolor. I used 140-pound watercolor paper. So here's the mat I was telling you about. It's 5x7, but it holds a 2.5 by 3.5. So you could tape it in and sell it that way or give it that way. And you choose, you just put it in there, and then they can buy a frame and choose which way they wish to show it. So it's a win-win for everybody. And if they get tired of it one way, they could always change it to another way. I like the colors in this one here I'm fixing to show you. It reminds me of an hourglass in some ways, but then it's big shapes, which is not usually what I do. But I like that one. I like the colors in it. So that's all I got. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, let me know. Thank you. Bye.